And welcome everybody. Happy Sunday, and glad to be here today with Robin. How do you pronounce your last name?
Jelinek.
Jelinek. Okay.
Yeah. If you
Um,
were in Czech Republic, you would call it Jelinek, but nobody does.
oh, okay. Is that the origins from the Czech?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
Yeah, my husband is Czech.
Awesome. Glad to have you on. And I know we've been trying to make this happen a couple of
Yeah.
times, and through moving and all the traveling and cat incidents, I think last time we were going to have you on, literally had a cat emergency that I had to attend to. So glad to have you on today, and looking forward to unpacking your story and maybe getting in touch with Athena and Truth.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, pleasure that you've invited me.
Well, first tell us, I guess first let's talk about Athena and Truth, and then maybe we can backtrack. We
Yeah.
can reverse engineer how we got to how you became a channel and how you connected with this collective. Am
Yeah.
I understanding that?
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what caused the connection. I kind of had this feeling throughout the last 20 years that it was going to happen. There was kind of an inner knowingness. I actually had a very good friend that was a channeler that I had known for over 20 years. I had a Kundalini rising at the age of 43. Almost always with that thing, with that happening, people become channels. Not every channeler has a Kundalini rising, but those that do almost always become channelers. It's a very attractive energy for a group to want to use that person as a transmitter because it has a magnetism. That's what that energy is all about. It creates a great ability to draw to yourself very quickly. And so that's one of the reasons that most people that have that Kundalini activated do end up being channelers. I would say that over a period of 40 years, I've been interested in spirituality since my early 20s, always interested in reading everything that I could, just a passion for it. I just really loved it and enjoyed it. Then when I hit the age of 43, both my boys left the home, which were a big part of my life. They both went to college. And I felt a sense of grief and loss during that transition time. And I really delved into my spiritual practice more because I had the time for it. And that's when the Kundalini awakening happened. It was a pretty otherworldly experience. Mine was one of the dramatic ones where all the bells and whistles, the loud noises, feeling the snake rise and puncture each one of the energy centers on a lot of sound, a lot of noise, really rattled me. So that experience happened to me. And then I would say over a year and a half, 2 years after that, there was a lot of upheaval of a lot of emotion just pouring out and no idea what was the cause of it. I would never say that I was a very emotional person. I mean, not that I don't feel, but not overly emotional. Let's use that. And there were just a lot of outpouring of emotion that was coming out of me that really felt like sometimes it wasn't even my own. And so that went on for a while. And now I've realized we're having worked with that energy, and that's actually what I do most in my practice, is that that energy has one goal, and that goal is to kind of clean you out, to open you up, to be able to hold more divine energy. So anything that you're holding in that vessel, in that body, that is kind of clogging it up, or you're not able to see in yourself, let's use that, it all starts to come up. Every time you do something wrong, you start condemning and judging. And that's what actually brings on the dark night of the soul, that revelation of everything in me that's not perfect, that I want to change, that I need to change in order for the spirit or soul to want to be a part of me. That way of thinking actually is what precipitates the dark night of the soul. The divinity part of you loves you unconditionally, and it has no judgment or condemnation. Of course, I didn't know that at the time. I thought that I had to do everything right and change everything about myself. I thought I had to like people I didn't like, do things I didn't want to do. All of those types of things were kind of banged into me over the years of my spiritual practice. And now I'm in this wonderful free space where I just do what I want to do. I feel what I want to feel. Do I not have negativity? No, that's not true. I do, but I don't hang on to it. And I'm not the one doing that. There's a divinity aspect of you that when you surrender to the way that you feel in your experience, it starts to infuse you with that divine energy. And then therefore, the attachment or the way that you felt emotions isn't the same. It's quite different. As consciousness expands, what happens is you rise up to a level of awareness and perception, and where wisdom and knowledge comes to you. And in that level of consciousness, the old emotions just aren't there. The choice of anger, the rage, the jealousy, all of the types of things that would normally be readily available to you, you go to feel, because you are human, and you realize I just don't feel that way anymore. I can't understand where that went, you know. So that was part of the process in this unfolding. And so in my late 40s, I finally figured out that, you know, I had to stop judging and condemning myself, that that really was what was causing disconnection. There was never any need for me to become perfect. And once I did that, my experience smoothed out quite a bit. I continued to study and read everything that I could about that energy, because I just found it fascinating having such a physical experience with something that you read about, but you can't really believe until you've actually had that experience in your body. So once that happened, I was forever changed by it. I was never doubting in this again. I never wondered if there was something out there, or, you know, had any doubt where in the past I might have had that. So it's a confirming moment. And really, that's what most spiritual experiences are. They are here to confirm that there is another side to you, or if you will. And just like you are a human, you're confirmed every day by the name that you're called, the job that you do, the parent that you are. So you readily believe that you are a human, but you have to go through that process with the divine too. And that's why we have the spiritual experiences that we do, because it kind of confirms that for you. So I would say then speeding through that 40s all the way up to the age of, I am now 65, and this happened to me in my early 60s when I actually made the connection with the channeling experience. Looking back on it, it was probably always there. I just was so busy in my life. My kids were moving to different areas, and I was still helping them. And one of my sons wasn't married yet, and we'd do a lot of things with him and travel, and he would stay with us. And so that was kind of a priority. And it is about timing. It's about everything coming together in perfect timing. And I would say that I wasn't really chasing it. I was just fascinated by it. So I really enjoyed it. And that's the advice I would give anyone that wanted to channel, is that it's like anything else. If you really have a passion for it and you really just love it and enjoy it and follow it, you're kind of adding that to your shopping cart of what it is that you really want to experience in your life. So then, you know, like in my early 60s, it came on kind of rapidly. I was doing a little bit of breath work, just sampling that, because I like to do different practices now and then. I'm not real current with any of them, so don't get the idea you have to do a practice in order to connect. That's not true. You do the ones that you want to do when you feel like doing them. And I just felt like trying it because I had heard someone talking about that it was a great experience. And as soon as I started doing it, it wasn't really the breath work, I don't think. I think it was just sitting down and actually allowing time. I just noticed my mouth getting pulled in all different directions. I'd have steady water running out of the corners of my eyes if I were lying down. It wasn't crying. It was just constant eye leaking. And I still have a lot of that today. There was a lot of excessive yawning times 1,000, where you could tell you were releasing something. Lots of wide open mouth, sometimes screaming, but not out loud, just silently. So lots of release of energy and or emotion that was coming out. No reason for it. No, not really feeling it myself, just expelling things. And then the sign language started, like mudras and things like that, that would move in synchronicity, all that kind of stuff. And it goes on certain clients. It has a way of moving energy. So all of that started happening. And I thought, what in the heck's going on here? And I would tape it and show it to my husband. He'd say, that looks wacky. I don't even know if I want to watch it. And, you know, he'd go back to watching his TV. He's not opposed to any of this, but he would sooner work on his boat or reload shells of some type, or whatever it is that he likes to do. And that's another, you know, point I'd like to make. A lot of people think that your spouse has to join you on this journey, and they really don't. There's many things that he's taught me along the way, in the way that he does things, that have benefited me. So getting back to that process, I knew something was happening there. And then one day when I went in, this was all over a 2-week period of time when all the sign and mudras started. And I laid down for a couple of minutes, and I had had kind of a rough day on the tennis court. And I made a statement to myself, because I'm really a good athlete and I was really a good tennis player. But if I went up against someone that had that really formidable kind of energy, I'd often find myself intimidated and I wouldn't play well. I could just feel my body not moving in the way that it normally would. And so I was kind of frustrated by that. And because confidence is something that I struggled with my whole life. And so I made the statement, you know, if anybody's out there, you know, when am I going to get more confident? I'm at the end of my tennis grip, you know, I'm 60 whatever years old. And at that moment, I just felt a breath come into my body and sat up, and I knew it wasn't me. I mean, I didn't do it, you know. And I was kind of surprised by it. And there was a voice in my head that said, how do you like the feel of a woman in her power? That was what came through my mind. And I kind of looked around the room thinking, well, it wasn't audible out loud, but it definitely sounded like someone else talking. And so that was the start start of it. And then within a couple of weeks after that, we had met one of my sons in Fort Lauderdale, and I was talking to him about what was going on. And I'm very fortunate with the people that are in my close circle of family, are very open to this, and they've been on this path with me all along the way from my 40s on up. I've shared all that with them, and it resonated with both of my boys. And he just said, well, why don't we just ask whatever did it if it wants to come out, you know? And as soon as he did that by invitation, the speaking began. That was the start of it. And at first it was very uncomfortable. My throat and voice box felt like it was hurting. Lots of heat. I just sweated right through all of my clothes. We were gone on a weekend, and I thought I'm going to have nothing to wear in a day or two here if this keeps up. And but you know, within a short period of time, within I would say 2 months, it all started to smooth out. It got much more transmittable, much more acclimated to my body, and the heat kind of went away. There's a little bit of that happens even when I'm in sessions, but it's not to the degree where it was when it first began. And so it all went very fast. I would say within well, the first couple of months were of course chaotic because I didn't realize they were just thought provoked. If I thought about them, they came forward. Of course, in the beginning, that's all you think about. You think this is such an odd situation, something that I would never imagine that anyone would be experiencing. How can you not be thinking about it? I'd wake up at night, think about it, and they would be there, and they'd start talking to my husband. And after a couple of months of that, you know, he got to the point where he said, you know, I like to get my sleep at night, and I would like to read my paper in the morning, you know. So then that's when they kind of said to me again, the question, you have to ask the question to get the answer, that if I would just stop thinking about them, they would not come forward. They look at that as an invitation. You know, they're not here in a physical body. They're reading you. They're reading what you're feeling. And so that's kind of how that all worked. And then I would say fast forwarding from that, I immediately got thrown into sessions with a lot of different people, friends and family that I did for free, you know, just seeing how it worked. And it very quickly became, you know, at ease and was very helpful to people. And it just continued to grow from there.
Wow, awesome. What I'm curious, was there any specific techniques or breath work that you did to activate the Kundalini? How did that come on?
Yeah, I did intently focus on my energy centers. It was something that I was always drawn to, and in reality, what I teach and what I believe is that those are the most important things in spiritual development that there are. Those energy centers are functioning, they are spinning, and they're actually drawing in a current, or what keeps you alive, your life force energy. And when you have a lot of layers of emotion, we have to look at that just like eating or drinking. It has to be eliminated. It's not meant to stay in the field. And so when that energy starts to build up, you slow the spin of that energy center, and then your vitality, your passion, your manifestation, everything in that area, depending what area of your life it is, starts to have trouble. You know, so if it's here, it's going to be, you're going to have trouble making a decision. You're going to have trouble trusting yourself. You're going to have trouble knowing what direction to move in your life. If you've got trouble in your throat, you're going to have poor communication, and you're going to feel like nobody understands you or ever receives you the way that you want to. And so we go through each one of the energy centers, and we can very quickly pick up where people have blockages. So by starting to make yourself aware of those energy centers and how they actually work, and then breathing in and knowing that you are a conductor of light, that's what you are, and that it will respond to you. You have to ask the divinity aspect of you to flow that energy into that chakra. And when you do it, it does it. And if there's something contained in there, you'll feel a heavy throb or a pulsation because there's so much energy coming into a clogged center. It would be like tipping a finger upside down. If you had an infection in it, you know, it would begin to throb because there's no room for that energy. So that focused intent of bringing in energy and pushing out things that are held in those energy centers, it's a good practice. However, I had what you would call a spontaneous awakening with no work on myself, no self-observation, which I wouldn't really recommend because it kind of threw me into a tailspin for a couple of years. No sleeping, lots of crying, not really feeling really balanced in my life. And a lot of what happens is when those energy centers open, they're non-discriminatory. They don't give one hoot in hell what you have in there. They're going to push it out. And so everything that you have held in you, any kind of trauma or emotion in the way that made you feel, will bring experiences that represent that emotion. And
Mm.
so it's a really good idea if you really are on this journey and you want to awaken your Kundalini energy energy, that you just start to become aware of your energy centers and you start to observe yourself in your life in the way that you feel in it. Just by observing different areas of your life and seeing how those things are going, you're going to know right away where you're containing energy. And then you can move to kind of lifting off some of that energy before you ignite the Kundalini energy, which really that rips. And when I say rips, it does. It rips right through you and will push everything at once to the peak.
Are you familiar with Walter Russell's work and his diagrams? He actually draws the like cones for each
Yeah.
chakra
Hmm.
and draws like the diagram as the cones are spinning and turning
Yeah.
for each of the chakra points. So fascinating how that works on so many different levels, on the scientific level as well as the emotional
Yeah.
and everything else.
And it's like everything else. Awareness is everything. The divinity part of you, whether you know it or not, a lot of people will say, well, how do I get in connection with the divine part of myself? And the answer is it's always there. And the connection to the divine is awareness. So when you start to become aware of how you're thinking and feeling in your life, you are already opening to the divine. That flow is reaching those energy centers and starting to come in. And then it's starting to assist you with things that you are requesting or wanting in your life in the way that you want to feel. Or the thing to understand is that everything that you've ever wanted was formed the moment that you decided you wanted it. And so those things are in the field waiting to flow to you or to manifest in your life. And it's just a matter of you aligning to them. And some people don't like that word alignment, but what alignment really means is you liken yourself to your source by loving yourself. That's all it means. It means that I have free will in my experience to pick and choose how I feel in every situation that I am in. And the divine part of me will love me unconditionally. And as long as I don't condemn and judge myself, as long as I don't dislike myself in my controlling behavior or my jealousy or my rage or whatever it is that I've chosen to feel, I will remain connected to my source. I will actually feel that emotion. It'll go right out of my energy center and I can go on to other things.
It really is like the peeling away of the onion layers, though. You have to kind of do it in stages. Otherwise, like you said, you can get kind of thrown for a loop. There's been a lot of discussion in different circles. I think even Rudolf Steiner talks about the dangers of the Kundalini not being cared for and activated in a sort of well controlled, not controlled, but how do I say
Aware,
going,
maybe.
yeah,
Mhm.
going too fast,
Yeah.
too soon, too fast.
In my situation, looking back on it, I think everybody gets what they need. If I wouldn't have had those experiences, I wouldn't know how to guide others that are having them. I had a partial rising where mine veered off to the side. I had it come back down a couple of years later through the top of my head, which I'd never read about. I've kind of tried to research that online and haven't ever really read much about that. I didn't realize the energy could come back around and come down instead of rising from the base. So, I had a lot of different experiences, and I feel like when someone comes to me that's dealing with something like that, I know exactly what it is that they're going through, and I usually have a remedy for it because I've been through it.
Mm, awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, tell us a little bit about Athena and Truth. Is that do you call them just Athena, or is Athena and Truth the
It,
full
it
name?
is a group consciousness. So
Mhm.
when it first started, there were many of them naming names, and that quickly ended. And then Athena, the one that spoke first, decided she would be the Speaker of the House. And when you leave this plane of existence, there is what's called telepathy, and the merging of consciousnesses is kind of what goes on with the group. So they're all ever present. They're all contributing, but she's the one that's doing the speaking primarily.
Okay. And is that Athena, is that the typical sort of goddess energy that we're familiar with, the god of war, Athena?
Yeah. So the way that it has been explained to me is, and even in the channeling experience, I think it's important to know that you do draw even that to yourself by matching yourself to it. So much of what the group does, I myself could not do, but I'll tell you one thing, it's very satisfying to sit here and actually have someone be that direct and say the things that sometimes they say that I myself as Robin would never give myself permission to do. So there is a satisfaction that's achieved in that relationship that I feel, when I am channeling that group of entities. But I'm kind of veering from the question now. I forgot the train that you were sending me
Well,
on.
we have in our, is it Greek mythology, Greek, or the
Oh,
other,
yeah,
what's the other,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
goddess of war,
So
Athena,
the
is
way that
that?
the way that we come into soul groups or the way that we come into relationships in our human experience aren't a whole lot different. There's a likeness there. There's something that's drawn you to someone, and therefore they become your friends, and you have a group or a collection of people. And souls are no different. They're attracted that way. There's an attractive quality that goes on. And so the stream of consciousness of which Athena the goddess was a part of is what I tapped into in the request for confidence.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean
Awesome.
it's per se her, because in streams of consciousness, there can be many. There can be masses.
Have you, you know, we on this show at in my journey, I started with the on the ET path, you know, investigating and trying to understand what was going on there. And that led me into, you know, finding channelers who channel a lot of the ET consciousnesses. Have you come across much of the
That's never
extra?
really been, that's never really been depicted to me. However, when I
Mhm.
inquire about extraterrestrials, I'm told that we've all been all. So I think they come from the same source that we do. So it wouldn't surprise me. That could be a possibility. It's about what is your desire, and if you're longing for more as a channeler, or there's another level that you would like to reach, that in fact is created. So now you have to trust. You have to be able to make a connection to that thing that has been created by the desire that you had to experience it. And it's not easy in the beginning, especially. I found it difficult because, and now more, I would say I do get a lot more telepathy, a lot of word for word communication, but you have to trust it. You have to, in your mind, you'll be telling them this, tell them that, ask them about this, ask them about that. And then you're afraid, but what if I ask them and they don't, respond to that? So there's a certain amount of trust, but that's gotten way better, and I'm much more confident in doing it. And I've noticed that every time I do it, the communication starts to pick up. It starts to get broadened. It like widens the bandwidth. So it's all about you. Everything, a spiritual experience. Some people think that it's different than anything that they're doing in their human experience, but it's really not. It's the same type of what do you love about it? Why do you want it in your experience? How is it going to make you feel if you actually have that experience? And so I would liken it to the same thing as anything else that you wanted to achieve in your life.
Yeah, it's a muscle that needs to be flexed
Yeah.
and worked, and yeah, and totally.
Yeah,
Well, shall we do a little short channeling session if that's okay? And
absolutely.
then
Yeah,
we'll try to squeeze some answers or questions and some answers from
yeah.
our group here. So I'm just gonna open it up, guys. If you want to, we'll
There's no
raise your
lag time
hand.
for us. Yeah. We were waiting when you were going to invite us in. You can see
Ah,
right away that this is not Robin's personality, is it? Yeah. She enjoys it. She likes the idea that we come in and we are able to be a little bit more to the point, let's use that, than she is. Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Mm.
welcome. Thanks for joining us in our group today, Athena, and love to get to know you guys a little bit more. We have a lot of different energies on this platform, and wondering if we heard a little bit about the goddess Athena, but could you tell us what other energies might be joining us today?
Mhm. Yeah, there's a collective of 12 that are present right now. Robin requested in the beginning, before she even began channeling, if this were ever something that was going to occur in her experience, she did not want to be one that would be having to do a preparatory lead in. Yeah, something that would take a lot of time protecting herself prior to channeling, that she would just prefer that we be the keepers at the gate. And that is exactly what we have done. Yeah, we started out as 7, and we have added some to the group along the way that we have approved as being ones that we would want to allow in. Yeah, but we are the ones that make that determination. That is not left up to her, nor is it something that she should worry about.
Is there some significance to that number of 12? I hear that often in group conscious.
No, there is not any significance of the number of 12, and we would say that we are open to expanding that number. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And what sort of these 12 different energies that make up this collective, what can you give us a little sample of some of these, of where
Yeah.
they're coming from and who they are?
Yeah. Well, I will continue to be the Speaker of the House because it's the agreement that we have reached. Yeah. But
Sure.
there is one in particular that is very loud and dominant, yeah, and it is named Jeremiah. He is the one that comes forward many times when we have a session with human, more to Robin's family. He is chuckling a little bit now in the background, that he can be very pungent or to the point, let's use that term, yeah. What we do is we meet the energy where it is. So if someone is really lodged in something, if they have this belief or perception, they are not willing to leave it, often he's invited in with some of his energetic push or the way that he moves. And that actually will assist a human from getting out of somewhere that they are actually lodged, you see. He would not be coming forward unless he was coming up against something that was oppositional. Let's use that term.
I would imagine in our human collective, we have a lot of lodged beliefs that need to be untapped or unpeeled.
Yeah, yeah. Well, humans don't realize they think there's this right and wrong thing, this good and bad thing. Yeah. There's just this energetic thing. You are sending out a signal, whether you know it or not, in the way that you feel emotionally. And that signal is being received by the divinity aspect of yourself, and it is making something very nice out of it for you. It has no determination of good or bad or right and wrong. It simply feels what it is that is being expressed, and then lifts it to the higher octave of love, of which it is a part of, and then makes manifest things that would flow to you automatically if you have in fact let go of that emotion. But most of the time, not all the time, but a human is unconscious most of the time. They're not aware because they are in pain, they are in suffering, they are in dissatisfaction of themselves and their own lives, and therefore they become in a lower tone or a vibration that is lower than their source, and that natural flow of experiences can't reach them. The reason that we came to the plane is we are trying to teach humans how they can get connected to that flow simply by acknowledging what it is that they feel, not trying to change it, not condemning it, not judging it, that they just simply realize that there's a really good thing in place here. Somewhere along the line, there's been some dogma brought in, even into this, what you would call metaphysics. There is people that are adding things to it that are just not necessary. Everything is running perfectly. You are allowed to feel every emotion in that deck of cards that you have come here with, provided that you release it and let go of it. Don't hold on to it. Don't judge yourself or condemn anyone else, because as you do that, the universe is just returning on that emotion over and over again, you see.
Yeah. When you're here with us in this way, excuse me, I'm assuming we're getting more than just the audible sounds coming from Robin. There's an energy transfer that's happening.
Absolutely, there is. And we would tell you this is what we do primarily in sessions. We have chosen her in particular because of the fully activated Kundalini. Once that energy reaches the crown, it becomes a transmittable energy, and it is here today in the room. Anyone that believes in that energy, anyone that believes in themselves, may open themselves to it and receive a charge of energy that would go through their energy centers and start them on the same path, you see.
We have a request in the chat. Could we get a clearing of energy, or maybe that's already happening? Could you
Yeah,
explain
you are
that?
the energy is being offered. It is offered in every session that we do. But the human itself must know that the divine part of them, through their approval, the human must approve and believe and perceive that they are worthy of this energy and that is actually possible. And when they open in this way, the divinity part of them picks up the energy that we are carrying and transmits it to you. Yeah. Nothing can access you as a human without the connection to the divine part of you. That's the rule of thumb. Yeah. We could never push energy into a being without the permission of the human itself. So if a human comes to us in a client or something, in a session, and if they come in a closed way, if they come in a way that they don't believe, that they are in a testing energy, we have nothing to transmit to them because they have closed off their energy centers. Here we're back on those again. So they close down those chakras, and then all of the information, the wisdom, the knowledge, the past lives, the problems, everything is stored in those energy centers. And so when a human doesn't believe and the centers close, we've got nothing to offer them. But if you keep your centers open, if you actually believe and perceive that this is possible, then the divine part of you will pick that energy right up and send it through your energy centers.
Awesome. Yeah, as we're talking, I'm feeling something in my I guess my solar plexus in my third chakra. I guess we go the the orange yellow area. Could you do you have anything to say for that?
Yeah. Well, we would tell you that the third energy center is definitely related to control, feeling control over your own experience, or otherwise noticing that others try to control you in your experience. The other thing that it would pertain to is a human would be actually engaging in some type of a profession or work that perhaps they didn't prefer to, but they were yet doing it because they believed that they needed to in order to provide the income or the benefits or whatever it is that they need to survive in. Often when the center is clogged up or it has some layers of emotion in it, they will find themselves sometimes in some dissatisfying areas of work or doing some things on the side that they prefer not to do while they're doing what they love to do, which might be your case. Yeah. So this is why energy builds up in the energy center. How do you feel, in fact, in regard to what we just gave you?
Yeah, that makes sense. I think uh, I just made a move here to Japan, and obviously big moves and shifts and changes, thinking about livelihood and survival. You know, your survival instincts kick in. You're like, okay, I have to get out of my comfort zone, so to say,
Yeah.
to
Well, this is the advice we would give to you the moment that you thought that. We would like to tell you to knock yourself on the head and say that you've gone to sleep. You're unconscious. The minute
mm,
that the human starts thinking what it has to do, what it needs to do in order to benefit and take care of itself, it's gone to sleep. Everything that
mm,
you need has already been prepared for you by you. Why would you think that you have to worry? Why would you think that you have to do anything? You need to come into a state of alignment, not a state of worry, not a state of fret, not a state of work, not a state of effort. A state of effort and work and worry are the human tool. Do you know what the human tool does? It gets to feel. Once it's done that, it's done. Doesn't have
mm.
another single thing to do. That's it. If you find yourself trying to do anything other than that one thing, then know that you have gone to sleep and you are unconscious and you are not connected to your source.
Wow. All right. Fascinating. Um, I think I've heard in other interviews, Athena talks a lot about just and you kind of even summed it up just now, just everything is the way it's supposed to be, and
It is.
there's nothing that needs to be controlled, as we were just saying. Um, that's I know for most of us here who've been tuning into this information, we sort of get that on the mental level, we understand that, but then we're put into certain situations where we are in that sort of fight or flight. For example, me moving across the world, and in other people right now in disaster areas, in more dire situations, though that can be a really hard pill to swallow. Can you give us a little advice on maybe to make that a little bit easier to
Yeah.
understand and feel?
So what a human does is when they're feeling somewhat good or okay, they can kind of believe and they can kind of go with what we are telling them. And then, in fact, when something ignites in their experience, and this is what you're talking about, then it is much more difficult or harder to follow. Yeah.
Hmm.
And we would say that the methodology is the same. When you start to feel yourself falling apart, when you start to feel yourself in a very difficult situation, this is the time that you surrendered again to the way that you feel. Of course, you feel that way. Yeah. There is never a time that I would advise you to go against yourself or to try to yourself make different than what you feel. We're not telling you to do that. We're telling you that as you surrender and as you continuously set the goal to surrender, you will eventually get assisted by the divinity part of yourself where so many good things are going to happen and so much is going to change in your life and so much flow is going to reach you that you will start the believability process, the perception process of, oh my goodness, this works. It actually is flowing into my experience. And this aha moment will start to come over you, this recognition of the I am presence, of the knowing of who you are, what you are, and how you create. And so, what we always tell humans is that when you hit the bad time, don't start thinking about us and about being positive. We've never touted being positive. All we've ever touted is being what you are and to feel it and to say, I feel really afraid right now. I feel like I have to really effort right now. I feel like I have to work harder than anyone else or I'm not going to have enough. So, what are we doing? Again, we are inviting the divinity flow into us in awareness instead of moving into the emotion in unconsciousness. Just like you said, oh, I got my Grundies in a bundle. I got to get going. I just moved across the country. I've got my livelihood to think about. So you moved into the emotive state. You moved into the panic state, and that's unconsciousness. You didn't move into the I am presence. You didn't move into the let me invite the divinity part to look at what I'm feeling and flow some help to me. That's not what you did.
Any techniques or suggestions on how to get into that state?
You have to invite it. You have to ask. We did a 2 or 3 minute video way back on our YouTube, and it's called You Gotta Ask. You have
Mm.
to catch yourself when you're feeling these things and be awake. How much clearer can we make it? Awakeness is I'm aware of the feeling. Unconsciousness is I am the feeling. I'm running in it. I'm
Mm.
the hamster in the wheel. Awakeness is I see the hamster in the wheel. Help it. Yeah. So as I start to view myself in awakeness, I open to the flow of the divine where I don't do the work. Some of you, and maybe even you, are of the belief that there's something to do. There is nothing to do. There's you realizing there's a greater power that will do everything. As you invite it in, as you believe in it, as you perceive it, as you recognize this aspect of you that you have access to, it comes in, it makes all the changes for you. You don't have to change anything. And then all of a sudden you will reach for your panic, you will reach for your effort, and you will feel it's not there. That emotion cannot contain me anymore because I've moved up in consciousness. I'm too far away from it for it to have the grip over me that it once did.
It is a sort of a teeter-totter though, I feel, because one, we need to feel the emotion. We need to actually let it process through our cells and have that visceral experience. But at the same time, pull ourselves back so we're not being controlled by the experience. So how is there any I imagine for everybody it's a fine-tuned dial, but how do we dial that in so we can
Once again, what did we tell you the human does?
tries to control,
But what did we tell you the human really does? One
feel?
thing, it feels its experience. That's
Hmm.
all you do. Yeah. So when you're trying, you're efforting,
Mm,
the negativity that is intensifying in you, by the way, is the divinity part of you signaling you that you're moving out of what you have capability of controlling. You can't do it as a human. That's not
mm.
what you're expected to do. You are expected to surrender. Do you know what this is? Do you know what this is?
A fan or
Yeah.
paper?
It's a paper towel, yeah,
Paper
but it
towel.
is actually a white flag, yeah. But
Okay.
you are expected to surrender to your experience in the way that it made you feel.
Mm,
That's what you're meant to do. And in that surrender, in that letting go, and in that trust, and in that belief, and in that knowing that I have been received, and all I need to do is let go and surrender. Not move into the hamster wheel with the emotion, but actually just surrender to it. It doesn't
mm,
feel good. And then I can't some days. Maybe some days I've had so many experiences that the cause that is within me that from my life experience is too great. So then I acknowledge that. You know what? You can't move out of it. I don't blame you. I've received you. Don't worry about it. So I can conduct this exchange in awakeness, in awareness with myself all along the way, every way that I am feeling.
awesome. All right, we've got some hands up. Let's go with Lisa. Go ahead.
Hello.
Good day.
Hi. So this is the first time I've heard about you guys and Robin, and I'm just loving everything you're saying and totally resonating. And I've been working on this whole surrendering thing for a little while now. So
Stop the work, feel
um,
your experience. Yeah,
can you
there's
say
no
that again? Sorry.
stop working on it. Just
Oh, stop
surrender.
working on it.
Don't work on it. Yeah,
Ah,
there's no work to do.
right?
Just when you can't surrender, just acknowledge to yourself you don't want to surrender right now. You cannot muscle that human out of what its life has caused it to feel and get connection. You cannot do it. Yeah. So just let the human feel its experience, surrender to it, and be awake to it.
Totally. When I say I'm working on it, I just mean like I've been experimenting or like I've been doing it. I've been
We're just
practicing
making sure. Yeah.
surrendering. Yeah. I have been practicing surrender. Thank you. But it is a hard thing for us humans to really understand, like this whole like not working on something. Like you can tell me this and I resonate, but it's like we're so used to having to work on things.
When you're consistent with it for what we would even call a pretty brief period of time, the amount of flow that will reach you in your awakeness and awareness will start to make that transition for you. It will actually just start to naturally unfold with no effort on your part at all.
Totally, I believe it. Okay, I have a question. I wrote it, I have it on my phone. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna ask a personal question. Okay, so I have multiple sclerosis for 20 years, currently experiencing a relapse, debilitating hormone issues, gut issues, brain fog, chronic depression, fucking fatigue, blah, blah, blah. I had brain surgery about 18 years ago, so my whole adult life has been illness. I've been on disability for a few years. And so I've done a lot of work, and I now know that I chose this for my growth and transformation, and how I know that I've contributed. to it by things like holding on to emotions and stuff like this. So I'm
You-
very grateful. I'm very grateful for my whole life experience, but it's really challenging to go through. It's extremely challenging.
yeah,
So can you tell me something I need to know
yeah.
or
Well,
do in
first and
order to get
foremost,
through
we
it?
would tell you every human has a guidance system. It's turned on, plugged in. So we would like you to feel yourself in the statement of, I know I chose this. Does that feel good to you?
You know what? That's what all these people are. Shoot, can you still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We don't care what anyone else
Something just
said.
happened to
How do
my.
how do you
Whoa.
feel when you say, I chose this for myself?
She's having to change her earphones there.
Okay.
Uh, we could hear you, Lisa. Say something. No, now you're muted. Oh, okay. 1 second. We're just having a little technical difficulty. You are muted. Okay, now go ahead, Lisa. Stand by.
Hello.
There we
Yeah,
go.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Siri
Uh,
just turned on.
so
Uh,
the question we are asking to get you back on track is, how do you feel when someone told you that you chose that? You have a guidance system. Do you feel positive or negative, in fact, in that statement?
I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I was going to say that all of the extraterrestrial teachers that I've heard from are telling us this, that you chose it and it resonates, but at the same time, it's hard to really.
Yeah. Well, it
uh,
is not our belief that anyone chooses anything that isn't suffering. Suffering occurs in unconsciousness. Suffering occurs when an emotion gets held long enough and the human has not detected it within themselves and is slowing down the field so dramatically that the body then signals by going to disease or upping the ante, if you will, to something that might get your attention that you can no longer ignore. It keeps getting louder, in other words. Yeah. And so it's not about you being punished. It's not about you being deserving of something. And we would tell you every human that's entering the plane that comes in sick is already carrying a congested field. They already have emotional basis that's clogging up those energy centers, and they're not getting the flow of health, of wellness, of passion, and of the things that they could have access to if that energy were released from the field, you see. And so we would tell you that long before you ever got sick, that there was an emotion, probably a couple of emotions that were signaled to you in the way that you felt long before you ever got that illness. And when you ignored those emotions and they began to build in your field, they slowed down your energy center and you got less and less life force energy coming into you and therefore become susceptible to disease. That's what actually happens.
Yeah, I can see that. I have held on to emotions.
So let's just pick it apart for a moment if we have time. Yeah. So
Yeah.
before you ever knew that you were sick, do you remember a time when you weren't sick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
was a
so
teen.
okay, so now we want you to remember the first time that you detected that you had something wrong with you, that you were getting sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so how did you feel when someone gave you that news that you had something, that something had come to you that you did not prefer?
It took a long time to get a diagnosis, but it was scary.
Fear? Yeah, what else did
But
you
I was
feel?
also relieved because I knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you got an answer to a question that you were wondering something was wrong. I didn't know what it was, and now I know. So there's a little bit of satisfaction that I've been given a reason for my suffering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so the only emotion you had primarily was fear, or was there any other emotions?
Oh my God. Yeah, probably predominantly fear.
Yeah. And so if we were to slide you out of that experience and pretend that it never happened, let's just remove it for a moment, and we were to go back into your life as a child growing up with the parents that you were growing up with, do you ever
Hmm.
remember feeling a lot of fear or
Oh yeah.
being so
Yeah.
you already have fear in you, don't you? So what does the universe do when someone is living in an environment and it's evoking a very strong response for them, and the universe wants to give you something that it has created that's better than what you're living with, and the only way that it can do it is by getting you to release what you hold. But you kept holding that fear and you kept getting repeat experiences, and now it's building, 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 slowing, slowing, slowing your field down, and you have no idea what the cause is. You think it's the diagnosis when you finally get it. But you had no idea that the emotional basis that was building within you, that was finally built to a point where there was so much energy deprived of that body that illness set in. And then when you got the illness, what did the illness do? It replicated, it mirrored back to you a feeling that you already had. It matched you. It gave you the signal. Look how much your human loves you, that it will go to that length to show you your fear. So you're right in some respect that you should appreciate the illness that you were given, because you cannot hate the thing that tried to make you well. You cannot hate the thing that is trying to give you flow. So we would tell you to love it every single day and show appreciation to it for the way that it tried to notify you of the energetic field that you were carrying. You see, you can't hate what you have and align to what you don't want to have. You have to say every day that I understand how I've created this. I understand that my fear was at the root or the base of this. I love you for coming into my body and finally making this connection to me so that I can release it from myself once and for all. You see.
Totally. Yes, thank you so much. Oh my God, beautiful. So I just want to be clear.
You are never expected to suffer. Do you hear us? Never, any single one of you, are you ever expected to suffer. You are choosing that of your own accord. You are not expected to suffer. You do not come here taking on misery, as some would tell you.
Because that's what a lot of these teachers are saying, is that we chose it.
We are not here to oppose or go against anyone. We are here to get you to listen to yourselves. You have a guidance system. We don't care who comes along and tells you what, and we don't care if you believe us or not. But what we would like you to do is to feel yourself in the exchange that you are having, and then feel yourself in the other exchanges that you have had, and decide which one resonates with you.
Yeah, no, I just brought it up again because I think a lot of the people, especially like in Reuben's group, we've been told this a lot. So I think it's probably helpful for us all to hear that. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we didn't choose it.
We're not
Is that
against anyone. We are not in opposition of anyone. Understand one thing, that as you agree to anything, you have added it to your universe. You have made it so, you see. So as you look at things on your news and you are fearful of them, as you are afraid of your evening glass of wine and all of the things that you would love, as you were sipping one, but as you were swallowing it, you were wondering if you should be doing it or not, you have already adopted in the problem that they have been telling you it's going to cause, because you have, like a goat, followed others instead of following yourself. You have a guidance system. And again, we are not against anyone else. We are for you. We want you to be for yourselves. We want you to feel yourselves, you see.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm gonna work on that. Or not work. I'm gonna I'm gonna process that and do it.
Thanks, Lisa. All right. And thank you. Was a little of Jeremiah coming through there for us?
Absolutely, there was. Now you have experienced it. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. All right, Bruce, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Thanks for being here. I've learned a lot. My questions and my concerns piggyback onto what Lisa was just talking about and what you've been sharing with Reuben. A few moments ago, I wasn't sure why I was raising my hand and what kind of question I wanted to ask. But as I'm listening to myself and listening to you, it seems like I'm kind of hung up on anger and anger at my mother, who passed away a couple of years ago. And she's been very intrusive into my meditations. She even showed up at a channeling session I went to, and she began arguing with the channel. And I felt my session was being interrupted by my mother, and I started arguing with my mother at the channel. It was a total mess.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've been confused and
Well, make no
you know,
mistake about it. Any situation that comes to you in the way that it makes you feel is coming up for healing. It's coming up for
yeah.
release. So you are being evoked with a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, a lot of irritation, we would tell you. And those things are already in you. Yeah, your mother might have caused some of them when she was alive, but she's certainly not doing it now, and you still have them. Yeah. And so you are just she is using an opportunity. She's trying to help you. She's trying to mirror back to you by aggravating you the things that you already hold within yourself, you see. If you were to look back over your childhood when you lived at home and we were to ask you what it was like there, you would probably tell you were irritated and frustrated and pissed off most of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
And so
correct.
you already have that energy within you. And now she's passed on, moved on, whatever you want to call it. And so she can think of no better way to signal you about what you are holding within your field. Because if you are irritated with someone and you are frustrated and you are angry, they are not going to respond to you. The universe is going to respond to you. And it's going to make you more angry, more frustrated. It's going to bring you more experiences that are going to make you feel that way. So if you have to surrender to what is felt, and then your mother will disappear because that's why she has arrived.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to love yourself. You know what your problem is? You don't like yourself as an angry, frustrated, irritated person. It doesn't really fit the bill on the spiritual path that you're on. If
That's
you
right. I'm
can't
trying
love
to be as
yourself in the way that you feel, how can you expect to align to your source that loves you unconditionally? It doesn't give one hoot in hell whether you are frustrated, irritated, or angry. It doesn't have any judgment of you. You have the judgment of you.
correct.
You
I get
sent
it.
out a signal. I lived in that house. This is how I felt. Make something better. And it did. But you hung on to that emotion because you would not love yourself in it. You have to surrender to your free will choice. That's what you have as a human. You get to come here in free will and pick and choose how you feel in your experience and release it to the universe. And it does all the connecting. It makes the experiences. It brings the things to you that you want to feel in your experience. You cannot get rid of something. We hope you're all listening in your hate of it. And that would include your sickness, the other one that we just talked to. You have to be appreciative and grateful of what you are trying to do for yourself in showing you a view of yourself and what you hold within, you see. Once you start to know yourself, that's the only thing, or not only thing, but it's one of the things that we do abide by in the Bible is knowing the self. And you know yourself in why you chose to feel the way that you do. Your experience caused you to feel that way. You have a right to it. You are not expected to change. You're not expected to let go of anything that you do not want to let go of. You are simply expected, here it is again, to surrender to it.
Gotcha. Yeah. Ain't easy. Ain't easy, but yeah.
Start loving yourself in your anger and forget about your mother and watch her disappear.
Will do. Will do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Bruce. Well, I want to honor our time and bring Robin back, and then look forward for more conversations in the future. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, you can very much see that that's not really my personality. So it's kind of funny. I'm a grandmother, and that's just like it's pretty satisfying to actually feel what it could be like to be that direct, but I'm not personally that way.
Nothing wrong with that, and I think in this case, and you know, everybody here, we appreciate the directness because you know, I think just sort of reflecting back on Lisa, you know, we do to me, I think we all hear this information as it comes from different channelers and teachers in our own way. For me, what Athena was saying and Jeremiah, it's the same thing we've been hearing from everybody else, but I think the way it's the delivery system and the way it's delivered, we all hear it and we experience it differently, you know, as individuals.
And you know what? I'm told that the way that you perceive things also comes through your energy centers. So if you have certain centers or areas of your life where you're not really open in and they're not going that well, then that flow of information or what you need to hear you don't
Yeah.
perceive it. That's what
Yeah.
actually, yeah.
Well, like the famous story of the, you know, the Native Americans when the you know, Columbus and the settlers were coming in, the ships were out there and they couldn't even see them because they had no concept or idea or understanding of what a, you know, a ship from another nation or civilization looked like. Much like we are right now in our ET ships that are flying around us all the time. And not everybody's seeing them, but some people are.
Absolutely.
And the same thing, you know, we can only experience what we're.
And it actually what you're doing is you're moving along timelines or shifting your perception to different levels of vibration where you can actually You can actually see those things. Like, I'm not really a fairy person, or, some of these types of things. It's just not in my personality, but it's not that I don't believe that they exist. I'm sure for some people that can perceive that level of consciousness, they can actually get a view of it. They can actually see it. So it's just to understand. One of the interesting things that was brought up to me the other day by the group was that we don't realize sometimes when we think about a situation that we were in that made us feel sad, we think that, oh, we're just reminiscing, we're kind of thinking back, but you're not really just thinking back, you're actually going back. You're actually moving from your now moment back to the suffering moment, and that's why you're crying, like it happened today. And
Yeah.
so when you start to get that understanding and that concept that, it is really important that you recognize where you are on the timeline, that am I in the present moment, or am I, actually letting myself worry about what's in the future, and there's a timeline there too, or jump back to somewhere where perhaps you were suffering and not feeling good. And that kind of changed things for me, to kind of look at it that way, and know that, what, I'm actually leaving the most productive space in my creation, my now moment. And that's not something I really want to be doing regularly.
Yeah, yeah, and unless there's some benefit for doing that. I love doing that as an exercise to perceive what's possible. The imagination is an amazing tool to peer into these other worlds.
Yeah,
But yeah, and it can go both ways. It can go down into a positive, outcome, or a negative one.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful to meeting you all and being invited, and I hope I get to see you back again. If you're not too shocked by the velocity, I'll be back, I guess, in November sometime.
For sure. And then we'll put your information in the description below so people can reach out to you directly and hopefully book a session. And yeah,
Yeah,
hopefully
I appreciate that.
we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night. Good
Thanks,
night.
Robin.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.